Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2002 Subaru Outback. Up front is a 2.5 liter flat 4 and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. This video is sponsored by CarMarshal.com. If you'd like to support the channel, click the link down in the description below. CarMarshal.com advertises for over 100,000 vehicles across the US. But let's get back to that 2.5 liter flat 4. Well, I've driven a vehicle with this same engine, the EJ25, and that was a 2003 Subaru Forester, and I'll link all of my Subaru reviews at the end of the video if you'd like my other opinions on their other models. But this is the Outback, which is essentially a legacy. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But it is a flat 4. It is a boxer engine, and what that means is that the pistons go out instead of up in a line. If you're really curious about how Subaru engines work, there's tons of videos on YouTube. I'm sure you can do your own research. But actually driving a flat 4, actually driving a boxer engine isn't really all that different from any other piston engine you'll find in any other car. It's really nothing too special. Car enthusiasts working on them, there are differences. You know, car enthusiasts will notice the differences, mechanics will notice the differences, but if you're just planning on getting in and going, you're not going to really notice much. Like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic transmission. It's doing all right. It's doing its best. It's shifting when I want it to. I haven't noticed any weird bumps or burbles or burps in the transmission, and you know, that's all I can really ask for from a vehicle like this. And last but not least, of course, the Outback is all-wheel drive. I think Subaru has one of the best all-wheel drive systems in the game. They've been doing it for almost the longest, and so there has to be some merit there to their system. The symmetrical all-wheel drive really is probably one of my favorites and one of the best. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 separate gauges. On the far left, I have fuel. Then I have my speedometer, as well as odometer, trips, things like that. On the right, I have my tachometer, and then I have my coolant temperature. Nothing really too crazy. They're very simple, easy to read gauges. And of course, that's all I really need from gauges is the fact that they're simple and easy to read. The steering wheel doesn't have anything except for cruise control in the bottom right, but it's a very plain, very open, very bland steering wheel. And again, I sort of like that. This is 2002, so this is sort of the era where airbags had really only been mandated for under 10 years, and auto manufacturers didn't really know how to handle them and make them look good, so this is kind of the bigger, pillowy airbags from that era. To the left of me, I do have fog lights, cruise control, and a little button that has a wiper and some arrows. So this car actually has wiper defrosters. So if you live in somewhere where it gets icy, like here in Chicago, you can de-ice your windshield wipers at the push of a button. This is awesome. I wish all cars had this, but even some modern cars don't have this. My family's 2018 CX-5 doesn't have it, although it is offered. I feel like it should be standard on any car shipped here from here on out. Then on the door, I have my power windows, power locks, power mirrors, things like that. In the center, I do have my climate controls, very bare bones basic here. You're not gonna find any dual zone or automatic or anything like that, but you will get all of your typical defrosters, and that's all you need. Then I do have the stock radio, which is decent, has a CD player in it, says Subaru on it. And unfortunately, unlike the Subaru Legacy I recently drove this past summer, this does not have a weather channel installed on it. Then I have some storage options in the dash and the shifter. The shifter is very, very early 2000s. Nothing really special here. It's sort of the jigsaw, I like to call it, where companies will save money, and instead of having a button on the shifter, they just make it so you can't directly go forward or back into a gear that you don't want. It's a safety precaution, and it saves money, and it works. I can't really complain about it all that much. Then I do have, first of all, a little all-wheel drive badge, but I do have heated seats, which is a very, very nice option to have here in the Outback. Speaking of seats, they are power, they are comfortable, they are very obviously from the 2000s with their sort of Brunswick zone patterns on them. They're not the most crazy 90s looking things that I've ever seen, but they definitely do stand out in today's modern era, but they are comfortable. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2002 Subaru Outback, and my knees are touching the front seat. Now, I've always had a big gripe about Subaru back seats. Subarus mainly from the 2000s back seats, late 90s, 2000s. For some reason, they never had good back seats. The space was just off, and I'm not sure if it's because of the all-wheel drive system down below or what have you, but I feel like they could have moved the back seats back just a couple of inches. Maybe it's because these seats do sort of slant back towards you, so it makes you feel a little bit more claustrophobic or whatnot, but really nothing back here. This is the hatch, in case you guys are wondering. Very, very large. If you need to haul things, this is definitely a car that can do that. Space inside the vehicle wise, and these seats that I'm sitting in right now do fold down. So not the most stellar back seats, they're not going to be the most comfortable, but they are usable. They're here, and you know, I can appreciate that. Then we got to talk about the looks. Now, you will notice how, well, rugged, I would say, this particular Outback is. Let's talk about looks first. I think this actually looks really, really good. I do like older Subarus. I think they just had this particularly puppy dog look to them, to the point where, like, you kind of look at them and you kind of just want to pet them, and they're just here to do their best, and they're here to give you their best, and that's really it. They're really the golden retriever of cars, and I think that's really accentuated by the looks. However, like I mentioned, this car has a certain patina to it, and the reason why I'm okay with that is because this is exactly what most Subarus from the early 2000s have become here in the Midwest. This is a prime example of what these cars are in 2019, here in 2019. Because I originally wanted to talk about this car and say these are great bang for your buck if you can find one without rust. And this just goes to show you where that rust is. Rear quarter panels on these cars are known to go out. They are not good. As well as a couple other areas. This thing has seen a lot in its 150,000 mile life. Subarus are notorious for having rust issues, at least Subarus from this era. Once they get this old, they do have a lot of rust issues. So if you're looking to buy one, if you're looking into purchasing one, definitely get under it, get around it, get about it, and figure out where the rust is, if it's preventable or if it's downright unsafe. I used to really want a Subaru. Before I bought my RX-7, I wanted an early 2000s Subaru. I wanted one so bad. But finding one in my budget without rust was impossible. And so I never ended up getting one, which is why I'm so excited and why I always jump on driving cars like this, is I get to live out a little bit of my fantasy of, you know, what if I did buy one of those. But these cars are totally usable. They're utilitarian. Their all-wheel drive systems, at least in the early 2000s, were almost unmatched by any other company in terms of an all-wheel drive passenger vehicle for the average person. Yes, I know Audi had the Quattro system and Mitsubishi Evos were around, but in terms of the average Joe going out and buying an all-wheel drive station wagon, Subaru was kind of the king, and I understand why. They work well. They're utilitarian. They're comfortable. They're here to serve a purpose and then go home. I think in terms of capabilities, this car is right up there. There's very few things that I can ask of a car that this car can't do. Can you fit a sofa in it? No. But that's really all I could think of. It can go down that dirt road, that dirt path, whatever it may be. You can seat 4 to 5 people relatively comfortably. The back seat isn't the best in the world, but it's there, it's functional, and has seat belts. And you have to think of this car in the perspective of this car was bought for sub $2,000 as a winter beater, as a vehicle to preserve the owner's other vehicle, which is a Unos Roadster, in case you're wondering, which is absolutely clean. I love that car. And thank you, Lucas, for letting me do this. This car was built for a purpose, and the purpose is to get used. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. This is the golden retriever of cars. It's there when you need it. It's reliable. It's loyal. Funny enough, Subaru used to make a car called the Loyale. It's there to give you a hug. It's there to pick up the pieces when you break down. And when you don't need it, it sits pretty happily in the corner and just wags its tail. That's why I love early 2000s non-performance Subarus. They're just good, reliable, good boys. And I can't ask much more of a car. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Lucas for letting me take out his 2002 Subaru Outback. You gotta love an early 2000s Subaru. These things are absolutely great. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really like it. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.